now we're going to be talking to publishers, or a publisher in particular, in the form of Miniclip, a massive publisher of casual games. And they're going to be talking about how they've succeeded through empowering others in the games industry. I think they'll be talking about publishing, they're talking about other initiatives they've worked on. So we'll be talking to Jayvian, I think. That's probably a terrible pronunciation, but they'll be coming up shortly, I hope. After that, we will be moving on. Again, we've got Mixie, the guys, or Jayvian, there we go. See, I wrote your name wrong on my notes, so I missed the way.
Yes, it's Jayvian.
Hey, Jayvian, how are you doing? I'm
good, and yourself?
Yeah, not so, a bit tired, but not so bad. So I started drinking for my joke at the start of the show, and now I'm feeling it. Don't drink in the morning. That's not a good idea. So where are you based? Where are you in the world?
I am currently in London.
London. Sorry,
yeah, so London. Not too far.
No, yeah, no, it might as well be. We don't go into London. I mean, are you going into the office? Are you heading in?
Not quite yet.
London is weird at the moment. I went for my first sort of boozy long lunch last week, and it was great because everything was kind of empty, but equally it was weird because everything was empty. But anyway, we can chat about London another time. I'm going to let you. Are you ready to crack on with your presentation?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. I'm here in the background. Any problems, give me a shout. But I'm just going to disappear and get out of your hair. So off you go.
Let me first try and share my screen as always.
Yeah, I'll stay here till the screen share goes. Hopefully it doesn't try and throw you out like last guy.
The joy of
tech.
Yes.
That's good. I like you very on brand as well. I like the Miniclip t-shirt. That's good.
Always.
There we go. You look like you're sharing. Fantastic.
Are you seeing?
I'm seeing it. Empowering others in the games industry. Game changers. I like it.
Yes.
I'm muting. I'm out of there. Over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. And thank you everyone else for joining this amazing webinar that Chris is hosting as well. Very pleased to have you here. And these days when I look at 2020, the first thing that comes to my mind is like 2 meters, probably like what James said. It's almost unthinkable at the start of this year that physical disconnection is that's going to help us save lives. And never have I thought that traveling and big group gatherings of more than 6 people could be such a luxury in this day and age. And the global pandemic has certainly brought many new experiences, including, working from home, having online webinars instead of in-person conferences, and so many more. And it's also unsurprising that these lockdown periods, these isolation periods have increased the feeling of loneliness for many people. But thankfully, we can all turn to games for some online social interaction. I've watched firsthand how my husband reconnects with his uni friends over World War Z in the past couple of months. And these connections have definitely helped him to provide some level of support and routine when we're stuck at home. And of course, we have articles in the New York Times that describe how games like Animal Crossing have provided people some relief from isolation, and how multiplayer games are helping antisocial people to talk to each other and bring together communities of people. And this doesn't just apply to PC or console games. In fact, mobile games have seen its largest quarter for games downloads in Q1 2020. And of course, this applies to a high DAU spike during lockdown months and an increase in revenue because more people were spending time at home playing mobile games. But what I want to talk about today isn't really about these record-breaking revenues or the sentiments around how the games industry is booming. Because I think while it's great that our industry is getting more and more recognition that it deserves, I think it's also important that we talk about the increasing power and influence that our industry have over not only players who play our games, but for those who work in the industry. Over the years, I watch as our industry comes under fire and get called out on issues around diversity. And diversity comes in many different forms. It could be gender, race, religion, age, culture, socioeconomic background, and so forth. And studies have shown that our players, the gaming community, has becoming increasingly more diverse in race and in gender. In fact, women gamers are the reason for the growth of the mobile gaming market in recent years. But unfortunately, like many industries, the diversity in race and gender is not fairly reflected in the hiring processes of many video games companies. The 2019 IGDA survey shows that almost 70% of game devs who took the survey identify themselves as Caucasian, white, or European. And only 24% identify as women, and even less non-binary people. So when you look at these stats, it becomes clear as to why to this day, there are so many poor representation of race, culture, and gender in games. Because if you put the same group of people in a room, they're likely going to come up with things that will look just like them, according to what they like. Fundamentally, the representation should start from having teams of people with different cultures and backgrounds in the room in itself, so that they can come up with different ideas, different points of views, or even provide their unique experiences in the matter on the matter that's been discussed, or whether it's game design or team structure and so forth. And when these individuals of different cultures or different race, gender, whatever not, gather together in the same room, they may see that actually they have more things in common than they thought they had with one another. Or they may find that they're still remarkably different. And that's okay too. Because increasing familiarity with these differences can facilitate acceptance. And it diminishes the misconception and prejudice that fuels discrimination in the first place. But even as I know, why it's important to have diversity, the bigger question that I've been asking myself is how? What am I actually doing to contribute to this change that I want to see? I read all about these negative issues on Twitter, and I share feelings like anger and frustration each time I come across, news and issues about how people have been treated badly. And my normal reactions is, I like and share these social media posts, I rant about it, or I complain to a friend or colleague. But it doesn't actually do anyone any good. In fact, over time, these feelings began to replace my ability to react as I get more and more bogged down by these anger, frustration, and helplessness. So I decided that instead of waiting for the change I hope to see to happen, I began to focus on two issues that speak to my heart recently and really commit myself to make a change or take actions on those fronts. To give you an example, pre-COVID, I love learning about different perspectives, ideas, and views from industry peers attending, GDC, PGC, all of these game events. But of course, we don't have the luxury to meet in person now, so I turn to all of these online channels to get my learning fix and all these online webinars. But if I'm really honest, I think we can do a lot better with giving more women room to speak on some of these online platforms. Because we know there's a strong positive correlation between higher levels of employee diversity and stronger financial performance across industries and geographies. And games is no different. So I can't help but think, where are our amazing women leaders? We're already underrepresented in the workforce. So why aren't more of them, especially women of color, be given a platform to voice their views or share experiences? And having them representing women in the games industries on these platforms and be vocal to share their perspectives and views is so important because it breaks down barriers and shows us what women can and should achieve. It also helps to encourage more women to join the industry as they turn to see how successful these role models are. And this is something that's really close to my heart. So I really wanted to do something to address the underrepresentation of women leaders on these platforms. So a few months ago, together with my friend Kat Chu, we decided to start Game Changers. It's a monthly live Zoom webinar where we invite everyone to join and learn from women leaders in our industry. And we cover topics such as market insights, production, team management, game design, and so forth. We want to focus on showcasing the capabilities of our speakers at their roles. and hope that our attendees will walk away with knowledge and practical advices. Through Game Changes, we hope that we can move the perception away from our speakers as women speaking about being women in games to a perception of our speakers as role models in games who are women. And this shift in perspective will hopefully build more confidence in people for equal ambition, and that they someday may make future decisions that treat all genders equally. So to date, we've done 2 episodes so far, and we're very, very humble and blown away by the support we receive. I guess in particular, I cannot thank my colleagues at Miniclip enough for being so supportive and helpful for this project. They've been cheering me on from day one, even when I didn't know if this was the right thing to do. I want to give a special shout out to Saad, Rachel, Kelly, Emma, Sarah, and Becky, and so many more of Miniclippers who have been so supportive on this initiative. And of course, massive thanks to all of these amazing women leaders who have joined us in the past 2 episodes. If you're interested to learn more about career insights from Lena, Kathy, and Elizabeth, this episode in particular is now available on YouTube. And as a sneak peek exclusively for you who are attending this presentation, we will be running our September episode on the 24th this month at 5 o'clock. And this month we will be talking about one of my favorite topics in games, which is data, with Alyssa and Tammy. So if this is something that's of interest to you, then please tune into our website, globalgamechanges.co.uk, and the registration will open sometime this week. And another thing that's really close to my heart is community, because I think we can do so much more when we're together. And sometimes we can be afraid to act when we're alone, of course, myself included. But when we harness the power of community, we are empowered by this connection and collaboration between people. And it makes such a huge difference when you know you're part of something bigger and have a sense of belonging in the teams and in this industry. I also find that broadening my sense of community really helps to foster new ideas, different practices, different perspectives that stimulate and inspire me in my day job. I think our differences is what that makes this community fun and beautiful. And this should be something that is shared, highlighted, and celebrated. So alongside Game Changes, we also started safe spaces where we gather up to 6 people who share a common interest and connect them to a moderator. These groups will then meet once every 2 months to share ideas, build relationships, and discuss on any topics that's of interest to them. Our hope is that through building these friendships, more and more of us will have a stronger sense of belonging in this industry, and will have more opportunities to learn from one another, our unique experience growing up, our cultural differences, and also our diverse experience in the games industry. So I leave you today with a challenge today, and that is to ask yourself, what are the issues that are close to your heart that you've been willing to commit to and make a difference on those fronts? It doesn't have to be another Game Changers or safe spaces. It could be building a more inclusive environment for your teams. It could be promoting the women and POCs in your team. It could be calling out discrimination when you see it happening in front of you. Or it could be encouraging more people to play games, whatever it is. If you're already working on something, congratulations. Have faith that you're planting seeds that will ultimately blossom into positive changes. But progress takes time. So don't stress out too much if you're still at early stages of what you're doing. And whatever it is, I hope that my very new experience here will give you the confidence and encouragement that if I can take a step up to raise my voice and try and make a difference, then so can you. And we're all in this together to try and make this industry a more diverse, inclusive, and welcome environment for everyone. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was a very interesting talk, and very topics and themes that are very close to our heart as well. I think not that we want to be doing too much virtue signaling, but I think we have always tried with our conferences to have as much diversity of all kinds in representation of who people speaks and the topics covered. And I think we've got a whole theory. Oh, there's an arm in the background. A mysterious arm has appeared.
Yes.
We haven't given that much space to disembodied arms, so that's an area to cover. But no, that we've got our company culture later in the week. I think it's Thursday, maybe, coming up, which is always good and often covers all of these topics. But it's good to get it up front right at the start of the show. So we've got loads of questions. So that's good. That's good. Let's have a look at this. Have a look at the questions. I've got a few of my own, but okay. So yeah, here we go. You've obviously started some great initiatives here, and it's fantastic. The Miniclip are supporting you in this. Do you see there is positive change in the industry? Because often we have these talks, and it's so terrible, and there's only this percentage of women, and everything's company culture is terrible, and blah blah. Do you think we are moving in the right direction, and what are the most encouraging developments you've kind of seen recently, or are there any? I don't know. Hopefully there are.
Yeah. So I think my biggest surprise, running Game Changers was at the beginning. I didn't think or expect that this would be something that people really wanted to come and learn from. I didn't expect to have so many people in the audience who resonate with what was being discussed and the goals and ideas behind Game Changers. So I definitely think that we are moving in the right direction, but although a little bit slower than what I would hope to see. But I definitely think that given the responses that we're getting, a lot more women speakers are actively participating. Each time when I float these ideas to them, when I reach out to them to say, hey, would you be interested to participate in this? The responses that I get from both speakers and audience have been really encouraging. So I do think that this is something that people want to address and want to change. And definitely something that I think will progress soon as well.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, sadly, sort of prejudice and discrimination and all these issues are not unique to the games industry. Do you think the games industry as a whole is? I said at the start of my talk that I think the games industry's done a lot of good in these times and has an important part to play. As you said, it's a huge industry now. Do you think we're kind of ahead of the wider kind of cultural curve, or are we just are we the same as everyone? I mean, I think it's important we do become a sort of beacon and a leader. But do you think the games industry is marginally better than other industries?
Well, I think we can do a lot more better. I think we can do.
I'm not saying we can't. We've got to have some. You got to start with some like positivity. You've got to go.
Yes.
People like to feel we're getting somewhere, right? Because it's.
Yes. Yeah. I can't say we're there yet. Personally, in my own experience, I certainly think, and even just recently talking to some of these speakers that I'm trying to invite, and hearing them talking about how, in the last 6 to 12 months, they were invited to seminars and conferences because they were women and not because of their talents and capabilities. Those kind of still shocked me because, I thought we would have gone past that, but it's still happening right now. So I think we can certainly do better.
It is. I mean, tokenism is difficult, and it is as someone who arranges a lot of events, I will say it is quite hard to find that balance because, on one hand, everyone's going, you need more, if you put up a panel with like 10 old white men, and then they go, where's the diversity?
Yeah.
So then you go, but then if you go, oh, well, we've invited 5 women. Oh, well, it's not, it is. And I guess there's a little bit of a, this is not an excuse, but there's a little bit of a kind of what's the word? Oh, I can't think. I'm so tired this morning. But chicken and egg situation, right? Because until there are more women in prominent roles in the industry, then there's not as many women in the industry, so there's not as many women to speak from. So if I want, there are a load of amazing women. We have got yourself and loads of amazing women, and we want, we don't really necessarily select on that basis. We select on people doing interesting stuff and are compelling speakers. But I think tokenism it's not ideal, but it can play a bit of a role. It's better at least to have representation than no representation, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, so my
I'm an old white man. I shouldn't be saying anything. I should just shout.
Well, my goal with Game Changers is that because there are not enough of us in the workforce, maybe the goal is to have more people coming out, more women coming out and say, hey, actually, you can have a career in this industry because it's scary, right? Yeah. People, women like myself, we think about so many things before we step into this industry. But having these role models to tell us actually, you can have a career here, you can develop yourself here. it kind of encouraged more people to come. And then from there, hopefully you widen your pool and then you can promote more women. And of course, for those who are already in this industry, I do hope that companies will work to promote more women so that they are in the leadership position, and then
it is going that way. There are more and more powerful women in the industry, and also not women. It's also other other groups that maybe have not been as well represented. It is. I think the industry is working on it. I'm not going to forgive us sins, but I do think it's definitely the conferences we run and the people we talk to. It's definitely, this is a topic that's not in the background. It's something people are constantly thinking of. I think in games it makes so much sense as well, because actually our audience is, it is everybody, right? So you need to, and apparently around half the population are female, and there's all sorts of people representing. So you need to have those voices and those insights in there. So I agree with that. Moving aside from that particular topic to looking at more this idea of games for good, which you kind of touched on more generally. I think there've been some great initiatives that have been mentioned here, like Play a Part Together was a thing I think started by Zynga. A few other people, a lot of other people got on board that, trying to combine useful messages and information about COVID and keep people connected. There was a great initiative to do with climate change, and my brain's just completely gone. With the UN, we're involved in loads of game developers, Cybo and Supercell everywhere, and we're there at the UN talking about that. And there are a number of it. What sort of positive campaigns have you seen, or what are you most heartened by in these sort of activities?
To be honest, I'm more focused on the indie campaigns. I'm bigger on supporting those indie campaigns that I know friends are organizing, because having gone through game changers and safe systems myself, I completely appreciate how hard it is for one or two person to be handling, many of these organizations. So I have been focusing a lot more on these smaller POC or indie organizations. Some of them that I think you have personally featured as well, Chris, is like Limit Break, the mentorship program that Elisa is doing. It's a lot of work organizing some of these events and seeing how she's able to join, one-on-one mentorship in this day and age is really interesting and really helpful.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of great stuff. We're as long when we find out about stuff, we try and promote it. I mean, we're not, we're a media source. We hopefully can use what influence we do have to promote these issues. Do you think, obviously we're in a slightly weird time now as well, on top of everything else, we're all in our own houses a lot of the time. We're all kind of a bit more isolated than otherwise. Do you think that isolation is causing more issues, more kind of, is there more need for activism and these sort of groups than ever before? Or is it in the way somehow this isolation is maybe leveling the ground a little bit? I don't know. How do you feel the kind of COVID is affecting these sort of issues that you're engaged with?
I think it's up and down. So at the start of it, because the nature of my work, which is in business development, I could work anywhere, and so remote working isn't something that's new to me. But I personally felt, in the first 3 months after it kind of gets into me as well, because it's, not seeing anyone and getting a little bit fatigued over online interactions and seeing the same people over and over again without, having online conference, or without having the conferences to meet other people in person, because part of the fun in the BizDev job is to go and meet new people, right? Yeah. And thanks to this lockdown, it doesn't happen anymore. So I did get a little bit fatigued and tired in between. And this is also why Game Changers and Safe Spaces opportunity came out, because it was like, how can we get more and more new people to be in the same room and start chatting about things who are not our usual friends and family, but also things that people that could stimulate and inspire us. So for me, I definitely think that this lockdown has bring up more needs for these kind of gatherings and conversations. In fact, I think it's great for smaller groups of discussions, because online interactions, it's quite hard to have 50 people talking at the same time. But it makes groups gatherings and group discussion, even like this one-on-one that we're having, even more valuable than it was before. Because in the past conferences, I may only have 10 seconds to chat with you. So many people want to have your time, and now with these online gatherings,
they're very popular. What can I say? It's
exactly. I have this one-on-one 10 minutes with you, and these precious time to just converse and interact with you. I think this is something that's becoming even more valuable in these times.
Yeah, I'll be setting up a channel if anyone wants to talk to me. If anybody finds my time, I don't think I'm that much sought after, but it's very nice of you to say so. I am definitely missing I'm hugely missing the face-to-face. I do love that. I do love meeting people and chatting and going out and having a drink. And
Mm.
yeah, I think the games industry is phenomenal for that. It's an incredible. It's not all. It cannot, there can always be a dark side to it, but I think generally it's a very caring. It feels like a family. That's what we always try and do with PG Connects and our activities, is make that gaming family feel. And I do miss that. I also said I'm feeling very weird about not getting on a plane. I think this is the longest time for about 15 years I've not been in an airport.
I have not been playing for so long, and
which is weird, because I didn't always necessarily enjoy getting on a plane, but I am now missing it. We're gonna have to move on, but I'm sure people can reach out to talk to you, Jayvian, and you'll be in Discord, and obviously everybody should go and check out Game Changers. And yeah, you've got, as advised, you've got some talks coming up, and we will obviously suggest to us. We are always open for new ideas for smart speakers or interesting people who've got things to say. So keep those suggestions coming. Thank you so much for your time.
well, thank you very much for having me as well.